did. How many people got a copy of the book, Chemical Khichdi? Okay, we see quite a few hands. I hope all of you get it. If you haven't got it, you can ask for it towards the end of the evening. So we've had a lot of doctors on stage here. We've had a lot of mental health and medical specialists. And today you're going to hear from me, who's a patient. Okay? And I'm going to talk about the power of storytelling in healing and recovery. So there's a wonderful quote by Paulo Coelho which says that the power of storytelling is exactly this, to bridge the gaps where everything else has crumbled. And I want to really emphasize why it's so important to listen to lived experience and to listen to patients' stories. Who knows these words? Who said these words? Even as medical practitioners or in the healthcare system, these words have been said, we have said them, some people have said them, mad, crazy, psycho, pagal, insane. Sorry, could I just request you to continue that conversation outside? Could I request you to continue that conversation outside? Thank you. And all of these things. And I will say that actually, in my case, all of these things apply to me, except perhaps gone case. So I think the thing is, you know, when you live with a mental health condition, these are actually words that we use very casually, but these are words that could have applied for me. But these are also words that apply to me, right? I'm a mother, I'm a writer, I've been a CEO of a company, I've been to Harvard, I've studied at Oxford, I'm a columnist, I'm all of those things. And I think many of us in the professional world will wonder, how are these things possible? How is it possible that you live with a mental health condition and you thrive with it? And that's really what my book is about. And this is my story. So this is me when I was 24. This is my personalities, I think, that summarizes me, little Hatke with these yellow sunglasses. This is on the Harvard Business School campus, just before I had my first manic episode. How many people in this room know what bipolar disorder is? Yeah, okay, great. So nice. That's really nice. So this was me. This is my, I would say, my normal personality. This is me at one of the proudest moments of my life, where I was running a company when I was 28 years old, and we were the first Indian company to take part and exhibit our products in a global exhibition in a furniture fair. That's me with my team. 20 years ago, India was not so global as it is now, but this was a huge achievement for us. And this is another one of the things that I've done. I've interviewed over 100 CEOs for my column in the Mint newspaper, a business paper, and I published a book about it. So it all sounds really good, right? Like been a CEO, interviewed CEOs, written a book. This is a class that I teach. It's got a lovely title. It's called Netflix and the Art of Design Writing. So I teach at a design school in Ahmedabad. So this is really all my life, and it all sounds very interesting. But this is me when I'm manic. And I'm sure many of you have experienced patients who've got mania, who are going through mania, who are living with it. But when I'm manic, I've just got too many thoughts in my head. I've just got too many ideas. I can't sleep. I have so much energy. And despite the fact that I haven't slept properly for 5 days, I still have so much energy. And that's what's going on over here. That there's somebody taking a photo of me and I don't even realize what they're doing because there's so much energy inside my head. And that's my sister next to me. And I'm trying to smile, but that smile is not really clear. Or this is another picture of me when I'm depressed. And this is a year in which I was really so unhappy that I even thought about taking my own life. And I think it just shows a picture of depression, which is one where we are quiet and withdrawn. We're still with the family. I'm still with my kids, but I'm not my usual self. I'm not fully present. And this is me now posing. This is me posing with a bookcase, and I always say, like, hoping for some fashion journalist to come by and feature me in their magazine. So this is really to show the difference between personality and illness. And this is something I think a majority of patients still struggle with in our country, to know that difference between personality and illness. And this is one of the reasons why I wrote Chemical Khichdi, to explain what I've learned. This is the book which you've got, and I hope you get a chance to read it. So I really want to bust that myth that you can't have a mental illness and live a normal life, right? That was one of the reasons for doing this. Now, why me? Why am I telling this story? Why is it important? Because I think what I've learned from this experience is something that could be helpful to other people. So I've learned that I need 3 essential therapies to survive. One of them, of course, and the starting point is medication and talk therapy in my case, which is what I needed. I needed the help of a professional psychiatrist and a therapist, and I've been doing that now for many, many years, and it's really worked out for me. But I also need the love therapy of my family. My mother is here with me today. And I need the help of lifestyle and having balance. So I'll give you an example. My book was coming out a couple of years ago. And in that week of the launch, it was like almost like organizing a wedding, right? 400 people were coming. I was getting anxious. And I said, the last thing I do when you're writing a book about how I hacked my mental health is to get anxious. So I actually put these 3 therapies together and made sure and got control of myself so that I was okay for the launch. I took medication. I had an extra session with my therapist. I spent a lot of time with my mother and my sister and their dog. And then I also avoided IPL because that's, I think, good for your mental health generally, or at least I think so. And I also spent a lot of time at the gym, right? So these 3 things coming together really, really help. And unfortunately, we don't have enough stories of these because most of the people I talk to now who come to me for advice are struggling with these 3, struggling to get the right healthcare, struggling to get family acceptance, struggling to get family support. But more than that, I think you need additional therapies, okay? There are 3 just to help you survive, but to thrive, to reach the stage where you can write a book, you can talk to strangers, you can be on stage and talk to audiences. I really needed 4 more therapies to help me. And that was really the therapy of empathy from my allies, which were my friends, my mentors, my networks, spiritual therapy, which I think was talked about earlier on today, and then work therapy, taking the help of colleagues, and finally, most important, my own self-therapy, really taking charge of my condition and journaling. And all of these have been described in Chemical Khichdi in detail. So now I simply say, I have an illness, but I am not unwell. For me, this is not a disorder. This is really a condition I need to manage. And mental health is a team sport, is another one of my mantras. I want to make allies. Allies have helped me through this journey. And finally, really, that happiness is a practice, it's a choice, and it's a decision. It's something really within our control, something we need to practice every day. So now, what is the purpose of the Chemical Khichdi project? So what's happened after this book came out is that I've done close to like 100 talks in various different forums, everything from a steel factory to the Indian Army, to NIMHANS, to N20 for Neuroscience Group Conference, really a variety of people. And that's really to say that I want to shape the dialogue and the narrative of mental health in this country. So that it's not that we're just providing services, which I think a lot of people are already doing, and many of you in this room would be doing, but also shaping how we talk about it. And that's why I think it's so important, and that's why I really today look forward to the support of the mental health community, especially professionals, in helping propagate this book, because I think it becomes easier for patients to come to terms with their condition. And in what way? Let me tell you a little bit of the kind of impact we've had. So as I said, I've done 80 plus talks around the country. I've done live sessions. I've had 1.5 million social media impressions. We talked just now about how important social media is. There's a TED talk out, there's an Audible talk, and of course it's been a bestseller, and it's also been shortlisted for an award, which just shows not that I'm trying to praise the book, which is what I'm trying to say is that there is a need for Indian literature, especially about a woman in an Indian family, how they deal with a mental health condition. Whether or not you're dealing with a patient or somebody in your family who's bipolar or is dealing with anxiety or depression or an eating disorder or schizophrenia or any other condition, I think this is something that could be useful. Just to give you some sense of the kind of endorsements the book has had, a lot of CEOs, but equally very much very important to me, a lot of mental health professionals at top places like Mount Sinai, Harvard, Stanford, NIMHANS, and TIS. And so finally, why I think this, and I hope this book will benefit you or anyone you know who is a medical professional. Ultimately, it's a real life resource. When you hear a message from a doctor telling you, sometimes it becomes like gyan. Does it become like gyan? Yes, right? But when you hear a patient say, I went through this, And it took me 13 years to get onto meds, but now I'm finally on meds and it's helping me. That's a convincing story, right? So the importance of medication, diagnosis, talk therapy, why you should go to a therapist, what kind of therapist you should go for, what role can caregivers play? This book is a lot about caregivers and how these caregivers, how they can be helped also, as well as the role of the wider community. So whether that's friends, if a friend comes to you and tells you that they're dealing with a mental health condition, how can you respond? If a colleague comes to you and tells you you're dealing with a mental health condition, how do you respond? So it tackles all of that. And fundamentally, it just says that, if you have a mental health condition, it is not a life sentence. It is not a jail sentence. It is something that can be managed, that you can live and you can thrive and you can live the dreams that you always wanted to. So thank you very much. Do stay in touch. I really hope you have a chance to read the book and that it is useful in your practice. And I would love to hear from you with whatever feedback you have. Thanks a lot.